The Quran Sharif has made bayan of different groups of people. And when the Quran Sharif speaks of any group of people that were existing in the time of Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, then since the Quran Sharif is going to remain till the day of Qiyamah, and the Quran Sharif is the book of guidance and hidayat till the day of Qiyamah, therefore these type of groups will exist all times. The difference is this, that in the time of Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, they were kuffar, they were the mu'min and the munafiqeen. Then of course you have the different categories. The mushrikeen are also part of the kuffar, Yahud, Nasara also part of the kuffar, because they didn't believe in Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam's risalat. But basically it's these three groups. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَقُولُ. From there it goes on. Now we're not going to any tafsir. This is an informal majlis where we discuss certain issues that are relevant for our Islam. So these type of groupings will always remain. Till the day of Qiyamah you will have kuffar, you will have those we term as the true and the good mu'min, and you will also have those who are the munafiqun. Again, in Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam's time, those who were munafiqs, Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala informed him that who they are. And their nifaq and hypocrisy was generally of the kind where they had outwardly a proclamation of Iman and Islam on their tongues, but at heart they had nothing but enmity and hatred for Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam and for the deen of Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. They even built up the Masjid al-Dirar, and they wanted Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam to come and perform a salat there, so that it gives it some kind of authenticity and sacredness. Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala informed Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, there's whole detail in the Quran Sharif, tafsir, and he was asked to destroy that, because it was not a masjid, it was a place for creating fitna and mischief, for plotting and planning and scheming against Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam and his people. On one occasion, it is mentioned in the books of history that on one occasion Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam actually said, "Ukhruj ya fulan, ukhruj ya fulan, ukhruj ya fulan." Because Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam used to go out of his way. Although these people had dislike, or they at heart were not believers, but since they used to read loudly kalima and give shahadat and read salat and salam, and they used to sometimes even join the Muslims just to show that they are Muslims. So if Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam had punished them, then people would have said that he punished his own Muslims, or he distanced his own Muslims. But he was informed that these people are nothing but hypocrites. Now in our time we cannot say with regards to any person that he is a hypocrite of that kind, where there is nifaq in the person's aqidah and belief. But with regards to nifaq and hypocrisy in the person's a'mal, now this is a very, very common trait in our society, our communities, ourselves, and the nations at large. Hypocrisy and nifaq in a'mal. And this is proven from the hadith sharif of Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, when Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam gave the signs of a munafiq. Ayatul munafiq salas. Iza haddasa kadhaba wa iza wa'ada akhlafa. Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said the signs of a munafiq are three. That when he speaks lies, and when he makes promises, he breaks the promises. We're talking about intentional breaking of promise. The person has got no intention of fulfilling that promise. And when he is entrusted, is tumina, then khan, then he makes khiyanat. And in one place, Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam mentions that when the person enters into some kind of debate or discussion or something, or some kind of argument, then he starts becoming vulgar. He uses vulgar language. Now there's a lot of details I'm not going in that direction. But from this we understand that there can be nifaq in amal, because Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam is giving these as signs of nifaq. Everyone across the board, all our mashayikh, great awliya, great muhaddithin, mufassirin, everyone deals with this subject of nifaq and hypocrisy. But as time went along, somehow it died down. That means we do quote these ahadith on nifaq here and there in some bayan or some waz and nasihat. But to make it a kind of a subject that where a person goes on and on and on for days and days talking about this great weakness and great disease and sickness which we term as nifaq and hypocrisy. In recent times it was Shah Wasiullah Rahmatullah alayhi. It seemed as if Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala had made him a specialist in this field. Everybody has discussed it. Shah Waliullah Rahmatullah alayhi discusses it. In Al-Fawzul Kabir you will find it. In Hujjatullah you will find it. In the same way in so many other kitabs, Imam Ghazali Rahmatullah alayhi has written quite a bit on it. In Ihya'ul Ulum you will find quite a bit of discussion on it. So everybody has written. In Kimya-e-Sa'adat he's got a whole chapter on it. In the same way in Jawahirul Quran you will find it. Now all these kitabs and the tafasir of the Quran Sharif, wherever they come across these ayat of the munafiqeen, they discuss it. But as I said, that generally it is limited to a discussion of those ayat whenever we were discussing those ayat and verses. But for the purposes of Islah, as I said, that for a number of days or for a number of months, continuous, in recent times, I'm talking about 40, 50 years ago, or 60 years ago, then you will find that it was Hazrat Shah Wasiullah Rahmatullah alayhi. Great ulama used to come and attend his majalis. Great qurra used to come, huffaz used to come, and the general public used to come. Now amongst those that used to come, many were like us, well dressed in Islamic garb, looking very pious and righteous and holy. So we believe that there is no requirement for any kind of operation upon our hearts, because we are very pious already. We have got namaz, roza, zakat, hajj in our lives. We make tilawat of the Quran Sharif. We make hajj upon hajj and we make umrahs upon umrahs. So therefore our hearts are very pure and there is no need for any kind of operation or any kind of medication. So first a person must realize that he is sick. If a person doesn't even realize that he is sick, then how is he going to go for treatment? And if a person realizes that he is sick, but he does not want to go to the specialist, to the doctor, to the surgeon, then too he won't get cure. And if the person goes to the doctor and to the specialist, and the specialist, after having checked him, he diagnoses cancer, he diagnoses tuberculosis, he diagnoses some other kind of sickness and weakness, and then he gives him some kind of a prescription. So the person takes the prescription, puts it in his pocket, goes home and relaxes. So he too will get no benefit with that prescription. Sometimes surgery is required. So Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Rahmatullah alayhi, as I said, that this was a subject with which he dealt at length, and he discussed it in so many different majalis of his. And he used to always say that what is the benefit of you telling me all your good points? Say those who have come for Islah, then nobody wants to show what his weakness is. Everybody wants to talk about some good dream that he had, or a person wants to talk about how much of tahajjud he makes and ishraq he makes, and how much of charities he gives, and how much of good deeds he does. So you say, Alhamdulillah, all those good deeds that you are doing, mashallah, mubarakbad. But when will you say what is wrong with you? How can you get treatment if there is no exposure and no acknowledgement of what the weaknesses are? until then, he said, you cannot really get any kind of treatment, or you cannot get any kind of cure. So in one place, or in one of his majlis, he mentioned that यही इखलास और निफाक की बहस मेरी सारी उम्र की कमाई है. So this discussion about ikhlas and hypocrisy, sincerity and hypocrisy, is my whole life. Assets and achievement is that I discuss this in great detail. He says, this is what I have really understood. तो मैं आने वालों से ज़्यादा औराद और वसाइफ का मुतालबा करता हूँ, न उनके ज़ाहिरी टिप टॉप ही पर खुश हो जाता हूँ. मैं सिर्फ ये देखता हूँ कि उनमें इखलास का कितना दर्जा पैदा हो चुका. He said, no matter how well dressed they may come in my majlis, and no matter how much of wazifas they read and come, but I am going to only ask them, or I am going to look at how much of ikhlas has now come into their lives, how much of sincerity has come in their lives, how much of actions are being done for the raza and the pleasure of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. He said, that is something that I look at. And then he said something that is now relevant to each and every one of us. We should look at our hearts. Our problem is that if every time some weakness is discussed, then we look at everybody else that has got that kind of weakness except ourselves. And in Islam, that is the important thing, that the person must look at what weaknesses are in himself. If we look into ourselves, then we will find these weaknesses. Sahaba kiram radiyallahu anhum ajmain, in spite of their ikhlas and in spite of their great connection and bond with Allah Ta'ala and His Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, look at their fear of nifaq and hypocrisy. Hazrat Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu once asked Hazrat Huzaifa radiyallahu ta'ala that, do you find any kind of hypocrisy in me? Now can we even expect any kind of hypocrisy and nifaq in Hazrat Umar radiyallahu anhu? Hazrat Hanzala radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, on that one occasion, he says, I have become a munafiq, I have become munafiq. Hazrat Abu Bakr radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, when he was told this, that why does he consider himself as munafiq, he said, because when we sit in the company of Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, it is as if Jannat and Jahannam is before us. I'm just giving you the meaning of that hadith sharif. He said, but when we go back to our children and our families, then that kayfiyat doesn't stay. That feeling does not remain. Now they didn't commit any sin, that's all. That feeling, that kayfiyat, as when Jannat and Jahannam, as if they were watching it in the company of Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. Now that feeling also, that kayfiyat just went down a little bit, and they considered that to be nifaq. So when Hazrat Abu Bakr radiyallahu ta'ala hears that, he says, if that is the case, then I'm also a munafiq. Now these people, there could be no better believers than them. The Quran Sharif gives testimony to their belief, and they are fearing that there mustn't be any kind of nifaq and hypocrisy in our lives. Then Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, after listening to it, he said, if that same condition had to remain, then the angels will come down and shake your hands. Sa'atan fasa'at, and sometimes this, sometimes that. That means if you had to remain in that same kayfiyat, can you eat and drink after that? Can the person then associate with his wife and children? The person will always be in a different world. But we are living in a world of asbab and means, so we have to be normal and balanced. There has to be eating, drinking, marrying, running business. Now all these things can't remain the same. But the point is that they feared this nifaq and hypocrisy. And we are full of nifaq and hypocrisy, but we fear nothing. So what a world of difference it is. So he says, आजकल लोगों का हाल ये है, and I discussed this in some other majlis 1 or 2 years ago must be. आजकल लोगों का हाल ये है कि उनकी इबादत और वज़ाइफ को देखिए तो जुनैद व शिबली मालूम होते हैं, और अखलाक और मुआमलात पर नज़र कीजिए तो फ़िरऔन से कम नहीं. आजकल लोगों का हाल ये है कि उनके इबादत और वज़ाइफ को देखिए तो जुनैद व शिबली मालूम होते हैं, और अखलाक और मुआमलात पर नज़र कीजिए तो फ़िरऔन से कम नहीं है. If you look at this, the namaz, the ibadat, the zikr, the tilawat, the umrahs, the hajj, and all other aspects, then you will think this person is Shibli of the time, is Junaid of the time, is Bayezid of the time. But he said, when you look at the dealings, when you look at the relationship with people, when you look at the transactions, when you look at the akhlaq and the behavior and the morals and the etiquettes, then they are not any less than Fir'aun. Say, Fir'aun se bhi kam nahi. That is our conditions. That if you look at our zahir, then our zahir will give the impression that we are the Junaid Baghdadis of the time. Now this does not mean that the person must not worry about his zahir. Again, we mustn't go on another extreme that lots of people say, this person, he speaks a lot of lies too, but he's got beard also. This person, he steals, but he makes namaz also. This person is womanizes, but he's in the first saf also. So now two wrongs don't make a right. It doesn't mean the person must leave the first saf. It doesn't mean the person must now shave off his beard. It doesn't mean that the person must now change his libas, or he mustn't make namaz. What it means that it is not appropriate, it is not befitting, it is not right. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu lima taquluna ma la taf'alun. Kabura maqtan 'inda Allahi an taqulu ma la taf'alun. So, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O ye believers. Why do you say that on which you do not practice? That on which you don't make amal? That your word is something different and your practice is different. Your qal is different and your hal is different. So now there it is explained that it does not mean that the person must not say good things and he must not invite towards good, he must not make nasihat, he must not do anything now because he is not making amal. There are two duties upon the person. One is to make the nasihat and the other is to make amal. It's not befitting that a person is dressed in the garb of a good Muslim and thereafter is engaging in womanizing, is engaging in zina, adultery, fornication, watching the haram on the internet, porn sites, filthy magazines, speaking lies, taking false oaths and qasams, beating of the wives, swearing. Now that is not appropriate, it is not befitting, because the person's qal is something different. And this is what I always talk about, is the sadaqat. That sadaqat must not be only in words. Sadaqat has to be in the person's life. Not only that a person spoke some truthful words, so it's enough. In the life of the person, the zahir and the batin, there must be sadaqat. What they talk about, synchronization, big words they use, that's what it is. So he says that if you have to look at the akhlaq and the muamalat and the muasharat, then Fir'aun se kam nahi. Now it is difficult for us to use these type of words, that because these people were of that level and of that caliber, that people couldn't point a finger at their akhlaq and their muamalat, their dealings, their relationship with people. Their anger also was justified anger. Their happiness also was within the parameters of Sharia. Their sorrow, their grief, their happiness, their joy, their celebration, their laugh, their smile, their joke, anything and everything, their eating, their drinking, their walking, their talking, everything you could, if anybody wanted to know what the teachings of Sharia were, or what Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam's akhlaq were, or what was his way of dealing, then they had to just look at their lives and they will find it in there. You will find the teachings of Sharia in their life. If he was a rich person, then you will find all the masail that relate to a rich person in his life. And if he is a poor person, then you will find all the teachings of Sharia with regards to a poor person in his life. If he was a ruler or a hakim, he was in the government, then you will find it there also. It's not that every person who is following Sharia has to be very, very poor. There is no such hadith sharif. Person can be rich and he can still follow the Quran and Sunnah. So in the lives of these people we found that. So therefore they could speak things like this. Now we don't have it. We have so much of nifaq and hypocrisy in our own lives that if we have to tell somebody, they point a finger straight away at us. Check your dealings, check your muasharat, check your way of life, check your akhlaq. Straight away they point finger. Can I trust you? And look at the lies that you speak. Now they straight away point fingers at us. यहाँ भी लोग आते हैं और बात